Thank you for tuning in to Cop with Comic. I'm Brian Koppen, and we're with comic Chris Griggs. Chris Griggs, how the hell are you?
I am doing as good as one can do in all this stuff these days. It's a beautiful day, and it's a weekend, so I only drink on the weekends. So that's my boundary I've given myself during the pandemic. So it's a good day.
That's a pretty good boundary, man. Weekends, that's only, 52 weeks a year? That's only 104 days of drinking, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't do good. It's weird. Like I don't do good just having a drink. Like I typically will have several. So, and then you start drinking, and the next thing you know, you're having a pizza on top of ice cream, and I just decided, man, the only thing worse than what's going on right now is me coming out of here just being some greased up fat slob with high blood pressure and an alcohol problem,
Dude, you are speaking my language, dude. I've been a greased up fat hog for quite a while, and only recently did I. Yeah, I quit the drinking recently because it fucked with my digestion. It's so funny because that's the only thing that would stop me, because I don't use public bathrooms, and so like the fact that drinking made me use the public bathroom during a pandemic was like too much for me to bear, because I have like OCD. And so it's so funny, like nothing else, like weight gain, losing money, all this shit, like it didn't stop me
I
drinking.
lost my friends.
Yeah.
I can't be in a real relationship, intimacy issues,
Yeah.
But no, I will not use a public bathroom.
Yeah, it only when it fucks with my digestion. So yeah, I stopped that. But and it helped things like sleep and stuff. But now it's hard to get up. Like my sleep is now so deep that I can no longer pop out of bed like I used to when I was hungover.
Yeah, I don't know. I think everyone has to sort of navigate their own path with drugs and alcohol, And
Yeah.
I've never done drugs. I've never been into drugs a lot. I had some family members that gave me a very crystal clear image of what it looks like when you abuse drugs. So I
Yeah.
never got into that,
Good.
and I didn't really drink when I was super young, but yeah, I do fine with it just being on the weekends. I also, I've been doing this thing where I try to eat healthy during the week, and then on the weekends, I'm basically like some guy that just got out of prison. I eat everything in sight. I drink everything. So yeah, it's a party. It's a party with just me. I don't know what kind of party that is, but yeah.
I'm the same way, because I'm a food addict. I don't like to eat with people because, first of all, you don't want to see them when you're eating all this fucking shit. But also then when I want to diet, because I'm a pretty good yo-yo dieter, like then I don't have any food kind of dates set up. Like once you start eating with other people, you're like, oh, I used to have pizza with my guitarist. It's like then during a diet, it's hard to kind of, cut that shit out, because you're like, that was kind of a routine we had. But even when I went back to Chicago recently for about 6 months, and I lost like 50 pounds. And the way I did it is just, I had barely anything during the weekdays. And then on the weekend, sure enough, like you, man, I was fucking pounding the pints of ice cream and just fucking going nutty. And I think the timing of eating actually matters.
Well, I've definitely never really been that into eating late night, because that's just obvious to me. But I hate to even say this, because then you're just one of those people that is obnoxious. But I've been messing around with timing of food, but also that intermittent fasting thing I've been playing around with during the pandemic, and it works. I mean, it works. It's almost like you're giving your body some time off. I think
and
I almost feel like.
Yeah, how intermittent is it?
I usually basically I'll do Monday through Wednesday. I pretty much do. I'll just do like one meal at like 5 o'clock, and a smaller meal. A day. Okay. And then on Thursday, I'll usually maybe do like two. Like maybe a small meal at lunch, and then one at maybe 5 o'clock, and then I won't eat until like noon the next day.
And you can almost time the hunger, and the fact that hunger can kind of leave you, like meaning you're like, I have 4 hours to get kind of hungry, but you wait 20 minutes.
I really do believe that. Yeah, I really think your body, if you give your body a week or so, your body will adjust to whatever. Okay, well this is the way we work now. And then I even think my body knows it's cool, because man, this weekend he's got some Jameson. And it's going to be some Jameson, and it's going to be a party. So yeah, a little pizza. Yeah.
It's going to be a party.
There's a meatball place that just reopened up. There was this meatball place on my corner. I live in Manhattan, and Oh, they drove me nuts. These two nice, little Italian people, and they didn't put up a sign like every other restaurant that says we're out of business or we're on pause or we're taking a break. All of a
Yeah.
sudden it was just shuttered, in March.
Fuck.
And I was like, no, not my meatball place,
Yeah.
man. There's no way. And
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they're just open, about a month ago.
And you
And then
thank
it's
your
classic.
your many gods, and you
Oh
thank
my
your lucky
God.
stars.
I was so happy, but then
Yeah.
it's typical like that old stereotypical Italian guy where he walked and he even had plexiglass and you could tell he did stuff. And I looked at him and I said, man, I was really worried that you all weren't going to be in business. This is great remodel. And
Yeah.
he looked at me like I was an asshole, like he didn't even answer me. He's
Really?
like,
Because is he pissed off at the arrangement or what?
nah, he's just one of those, I don't know how you go into some places in New York where he loves me, like he'll always give me a little heads up, but he's not going to talk to you and be nice and ask you about your day. It's just one of those people that, like one of those restaurant people in New York where they're just sort of like, whatever, you know?
Yeah. It's like, and we might be close soon. Like, fuck you. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we missed your meatball a week. Fucking, we
Yeah.
actually prefer
We
Brian
missed
Koppen
you.
because he eats every fucking day. You Chris Griggs, man. You're fucking intermittent fasting. Go fuck yourself with your 10 meatballs.
I know, man. Like, give me you little mister. You only get crazy on the weekends. I can't make
Yeah.
any money off you. Yeah.
And then, yeah, the same thing happened with me with Seamless because my restaurant, which has a bison burger and a
Oh,
braised short rib fries, and you're
yes.
just like, no, you didn't. And braised short rib quesadillas, like all of a sudden, it stopped, but it didn't even notify Seamless. So Seamless was or Grubhub or whatever was still taking the order. And then an
Oh,
hour went by and they didn't come, and I'm calling them up and be like, you have this thing is open. I don't think this place is open because I haven't called them up. And they finally, like, then the next day it was closed, and it was closed for months. And I was like, you motherfucker, that's the Chris Griggs meatball phenomenon. Go fuck yourself. But yeah, real quick, we're going to talk about, because you've been doing comedy for a long fucking time, and you do stand up and improv, and I think you're teaching both. And it sounds like you might be about to teach a bunch of high schoolers in Brooklyn these fucking art forms. And I kind of was interested about how you do that. Like, how do you? Because my first experience with improv was so shitty compared to stand up
sure.
that I'm
Uh,
just kind of down on it because you don't have any control. So how can you kind of introduce it in ways that people will respond well to it? Like, they have to have a good experience with it, or they're going to hate it for the rest of their lives.
yeah. Well, I even tell people when I'm teaching, well, I'm like, yeah, I teach improv at a charter school in Brooklyn, and it looks like that's going to, pick up. So I'll probably wind up dying and catching the disease. But I've been teaching improv for probably about maybe like 16 years. And I never wanted, but lately, maybe the last 3 or 4 years, I've been teaching intro stand up a little bit. And I never wanted to teach stand up for the longest time because you can't really teach anybody to do stand up. They just have to put in the time, and
Yeah.
they have to put in the time and the talent. And then eventually, because I do it at the People's Improv Theater, the Pit here in New York, they've also got a theater in North Carolina. But
Oh,
but then over time, people kept asking me to do it, and I thought, stand up is so brutal. Maybe just a kinder, gentler. I'll teach a little intro class, and I still do that. I don't want to teach advanced stand up.
yeah.
Um, I don't want to tell Angry Carl that his testicle juggling joke is maybe not all that, that he's been doing for 9 years. So I don't want to get into advanced stand up, but I do think just some basic fundamentals and kind of easing people into a tough art form with stand up is good. But improv, I think improv is a healthy art form. I mean, and I tell people, to your point, I tell people, look, I'm going to be honest with you. If you tell me the people that can do improv and stand up at a professional level to where someone would pay them, it's very few people can do
Yeah.
both because they're opposite. They're completely opposite. They're opposite uses of your brain. Stand up is, narcissistic and Darwinism, and you're writing about yourself endlessly in the shadows while you cut yourself, and it's brutal, and it's just a brutal art form. But then
Yeah.
we wouldn't, but then like me, even though I do improv and stand up, if you put a gun in my head, I would just do stand up. If I had to choose, I would just do stand up, and that's the way all stand ups are built in some
And
way.
yeah,
Like you
why?
have
Just
to do it.
because you like the control?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's just stand up is just something. It's almost like that Marvelous Miss Maisel show where the Lenny Bruce character said, if you can see yourself doing anything else, you should, because there's really nothing healthy about it. I mean, the only
Yeah.
good part about it is the camaraderie with other comedians, because I think comedians are some of the, even though we're all damaged and broken, we're really like they're just some great people. And
Yeah.
but the business is brutal. everyone's kind of the king and queen of tiny island, you know, everyone's on power, drugs and power, and it's hard to, everyone's running their own little gated community. It doesn't matter how much
Yes.
time you put in.
Yes.
And it's not anything functional about it, except when you're on stage. But even that, you know, like even like Dave Chappelle's talked about, like it's not real, but it's like the closest thing to real. Like it's almost like a fake relationship, but it feels real, but it's not, kind of a thing. And but improv is extremely healthy art form. I mean, it's basically allowing people to self-actualize themselves in real time and represent themselves to the top of their intelligence and be able to work and say yes to other people of all walks of
Wow.
life. Like, I really think the world would be better if everyone did improv, but I understand why stand-ups hate it. And that's why I have a lot of stand-ups. I have 2 stand-ups in a class I'm taking now that I've known for a long time. And they struggle with it. And I get it, because you're used to working alone. You don't play well with others. You do everything on yourself. And I'm asking you to not try to tell jokes right out of the gate and ruin a scene, and work with other people,
Yeah,
but then
trust somebody,
improvise it.
trust that somebody else is going to take their spotlight and do something productive with it.
Yes, because improv is, you know, the group mind is smarter than the individual, and
Yeah.
stand up is the opposite of that. So, and then by the same token, you know, I'm around a lot of improvisers study with me, and most of them won't become stand ups because they don't want to get punched in the face every day of their life. And
Yeah.
they're not really willing to put in the time, because, you know, improv, for better for worse, especially in the early beginning, it's kind of a Pollyanna art form. It's a lot of people hugging themselves in the mediocrity, saying, "You're great. No, you're great. Oh my God, when you played the squirrel, you're so talented. No, you're so talented." So, you know, I get why stand-ups hate it, and I understand why improvisers stop doing stand-up. But ultimately, I kind of come at it from a place, if you can get over the fact that they're completely different art forms,
Yeah.
stand-ups are served well by doing improv, because these days you need to be able to act,
Yeah.
and you don't have time to do plays and to dive into a bunch of stuff with acting, because you're doing stand-up all the time. But improv is something that you can pick up and just do. And I've never met a great improviser that can't act, but I've met a lot of great actors that can't improvise. So,
Huh.
you know, I think that's pretty much the pitch. But I totally understand why stand-ups hate it. But I do take some issue. A lot of stand-ups act like it just sucks on stage, but it's, yeah, but you don't know. There's a lot of great improv, but you don't know where to go,
Yeah.
and you don't know. Stand-up is just like improv, in that there are horrible stand-up shows in New York every night, and there are horrible. We're seeing horrible remote shows right now. But there's great remote shows, you know, like
Right.
I did one last night. It was like, holy crap, this is great. And then I've done remote shows that are horrible. And improv is the same thing. Like, improv can be the worst. It can be like you want to pull your eyes out. And then there are great improv shows. I mean, well, I mean, like, I think Middlestitch and Schwartz, which is on Netflix right now,
Yeah.
is a great two-prov. Two guys. They have 3 episodes on Netflix right now, and they're doing it in a theater. It's fun. It's great. But generally improv doesn't really play for television. I was quite surprised that that really works, what they're doing. But I've been in a group for 10 years called the Baldwins, and we're a good group. I mean, you know, New York Times has recommended us, Time Out New York. We've been part of the New York New York Comedy Festival. I mean, we're good. And we have, like, in a week, we do weekend shows at the theater, at the Pit. We've been doing it for a long time, like weekend residency. And there are good improv shows, but I don't know. I do understand it. It's funny with me, because I'm a total weirdo, because I'm also a Gemini,
Okay.
and I have a twin. So I think that's why I can do both, because I totally have a Jekyll Hyde to my personality, where I'm totally, like, you know, team player guy, improv, let's work together. And then the stand-up in me, I can get sadistic. And sometimes if I know an improviser, if they start talking and saying that they're a stand-up comic when they really haven't put in that time, and they've just been doing like little safe rooms, I'll drag them to a hookah bar in Jersey somewhere and watch them bomb, just so that
Wow.
they can see, like, no, you know, like, you're not a stand-up comic. So just
You
because you've been
sadistic
doing, like,
motherfucker. I
yeah,
love it.
man.
Your hide your sadism. You're like, I explain it because I'm a Gemini.
Well, I know that's my excuse. My excuse over why I'm fractured this way is that I'm a Gemini. But yeah, if I'm on stage, you know, I feel like when I improvise, I feel like I play well with others, and I'm not just trying to make it about me. But I do, I do, you know, I want stand-ups to appreciate improv, and I want improvisers to appreciate stand-up. And
Yeah.
it's probably never going to happen. It's always going to be kind of an oil and water situation, but they do help each other over time, but not in the beginning. So I think really, you know, I'm sure I'm doing this out of ego, but I think that's why stand-up sometimes like to study with me, because I get it. Like I get what you're going through, and I know why you loathe this. Just hang in there, because there is a point to this. And the reason why I stuck with improv all those years was really just mental health. I found it very healthy to collaborate with other comedians that were improvising, that worked as a group. And you know, and improvisers are fun people. They're usually they're quick-witted, they're fun, they're generally a little bit more positive, and they actually care about your career. I found a little more. You know how stand-ups, like, we don't care. We pretend to care, but I don't know. I
It's
mean,
competitive too in the
it's
stand-up
very
thing.
competitive,
Yeah.
and it's a silly competition because we're not actually competing with each other.
That's
Like,
true.
there's
Yeah.
nothing that you've ever gotten that in any way ever kept me from getting anything. Just because you work at a club that I don't work at, or vice versa,
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with us. But we
Right.
get very competitive, and I think for me, I skipped a lot of that part of it just because I started later. I was a commercial copywriter. I worked in advertising, and so from when I got into stand up and performing, and you know, and also just acting in general, I just wanted to do it to do it. You know, I just wanted to find out if I could do it at a professional level.
Yeah.
And New York will give you that. Like, New York may not make you rich, or New York may not do a lot of things, but you can be around some of the best comedians in the world, and New York will help you figure out if you could really, if you can cut it, you know?
I love that. Yeah, it'll make you figure out whether or not you're going to be professional at something. That's
Yeah,
fucking cool. I think one of the things I chafe at a little bit is, you know, like Middleditch and Schwartz, even looking at some of their screen caps here, you know, the fact that they're pretending, you know, like I see Middleditch here, he's looking like he's driving a car. So he's got a fake, you know, his hands are in the grip of a steering wheel. And it just seems like the pretending, and the people who, you know, I've had improvisers on and they're hilarious. I love them. But
sure.
I think, you know, at any level you show up, and I think I saw the SNL people do it at Improv Olympic in Chicago. Like, it really looks like these people are pretending, and at its worst, it looks like theater kids are enjoying pretending far too much. And to a cynical, jaded stand-up or something, that just kind of rubs you the wrong way, that people are enjoying pretending too much. And it just seems like, you know, like these are, you know, when you're a stand-up comic, you might not have been a theater kid when you were in school, and you might have been like, those people are a little weird playing pretend all the time. Like, do you think that there's anything about the pretending that goes on stage at any level, and the fact that theater kids enjoy the fuck out of it really rubs stand-ups the wrong way?
I totally believe that that could be the case, but think about it. This is what I'm saying. This is what's so funny to me about stand-ups. Like, think about how dysfunctional that theory is. You know what I mean? Like, you're probably right, but think about, like, the whole idea of, like, look at those assholes having fun pretending like they're kids in camp games. Fuck those guys, man. I don't like that. What is this, like, happy thing you're doing? I don't like that. You know, like, instead of looking at those two guys, which, by the way, they're both rich. I mean, they've both been on television a lot. They
Yeah,
don't have to do this. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, they're both solid. You know, like Silicon Valley and
yeah,
House of Lies. Like, these guys work, man. You know,
yeah,
Space Camp, I think, is that show that Ben's on. Like, these guys work, but they're doing this thing in a theater in front of a bunch of people, a lot of stakes, or, you know, a lot of high stakes. You know, cameras are on them, and they're miming driving a car and stuff. And then stand-ups are like, look at those assholes, just pretending. Like,
I fucking
theater
love that. You're
game.
like, yeah, what kind of dysfunctional theory is that? That you look at people having fun and you just hate all over it. But I
You
love
hate
that fucking Chris Griggs. He can do both because he's Gemini and he's a sadistic fuck. And
it.
but yeah, I mean, he can cloak it all in the fact that he's Gemini, and he's just he's a pro at all this shit. And so check him out. He's me, Chris Griggs. He's on Twitter like that, but also Chris Griggs Comedy on Instagram, and also Chris Griggs Comedy at chrisgriggscomedy.com. So hey, man, I hope to be in a class someday soon. Those Brooklyn kids are lucky, man.
I thank you very much, man. This was a fun conversation. Y'all have a good time. I'll see you on the other side of this world.
Dude, yeah, hell yeah, Chris Griggs, thank you so much.
Thank you.